Hello, I am Logan Bowlds, head of school at Stratford Academy in Macon, Georgia, and thank you for joining us for our second Carline Conversation podcast series. We were floored that we had over 100 downloads of our last series that ran last month, and we're looking forward to sharing this month's topic with you. If you haven't had a chance, please visit our Eagle Extra section of our website and read the blog article for this month's topic. It explains that there are 4 key characteristics to all private schools: philosophy, freedom, relationships, and community. Today, I have 3 special guests joining me who are sharing their experiences with these areas. Bobby Stecker, who is our upper school math teacher and math department chair. Jackie Guy, who is our director of college counseling. And Sarah Ballard, parent of 2 rising 6th grade students, who is also our incoming president of Stratford's Parent Volunteer Program, SIP. We're going to hit on all the reasons that we are such cheerleaders for independent education. So the first question I have today is, this month we are talking about why we believe so strongly about private schools and what we offer to families. What is a reason that you have experienced that makes you an independent school proponent?
Well, I'm coming from a background of guidance and counseling, so of course relationships are the most important to me. And I love the way at Stratford, the environment really creates a closeness among its students to learn in a safe environment where they're safe to learn, they're safe to make mistakes, and grow closer in their community with each other and with their teachers. So
That's an excellent point, especially the fact of the idea of the small class sizes, the smaller grade levels. It allows for more personal interaction in terms of community, as well as in the college counseling department. I know something that I love that Jackie and her team does is that they sit down with every junior parent, or every junior and every junior's family, and gets to know them as they enter into the college admission season. And I would say that's practically impossible at these larger schools, the idea of having this personalized one-on-one attention to walk them through that process.
well, we do have personalized attention, and we really think of our program as we're a college prep school, and that program really begins in kindergarten.
Sure.
So actually in beginners. So from the time students set foot on our campus, we're really looking at the big picture of how we're going to guide them along the way so that they're ready. By the time they see me their junior year, they're ready.
They are ready to go, no doubt. Now, my office is within an earshot of the admissions office, so I hear when prospective families call and ask, why should we pay for a private school when public school is free? What answer would you give them if you were stopped on the street and said, why do you work at a private school? Why do you pay for private school? Why do you attend private school? What would be your gut reaction selling the family on a private school experience?
The experience of private school is much richer, and it's worth it. You know, students feel loved, they like being here, they grow up here, so we're like their family.
Sure. Yeah, they spend more time with us, right?
Yeah, they spend more time with us than they do their parents sometimes. Maybe when they're high schoolers, they don't even see their parents some days, so we see them a lot more.
Sure.
I think that they get a more diverse education. They have more freedom and choices of what classes they take, in what order, and the curriculum is, because we're an independent school, the curriculum is very rigorous, and they have this nice experience that they may not get at a public school.
Absolutely, and the flexibility of the teachers in the classroom. I can remember when I was a classroom teacher, the idea was I wasn't so tied to state standards and curriculum and having to move so quickly through something, so that when a child was inquiring about a certain topic, we were able to go deeper. And I think that again is that overall attractiveness of an independent school education, is that you get to go deeper and have more meaningful connections and conversations with students over the topics, and you also get to know them better throughout that process. So that is definitely a plus.
No, I completely agree. And when someone asks me, why'd you choose independent over public? I mean, in a nutshell, education is the best gift we can give our children. And if we can see a better quality of education here, it's only going to provide them a more successful future.
Absolutely.
So that's important to us. I mean, that's something you think about, like Jackie said, the big picture. So when we were looking at and choosing, and we've been here since preschool, and we like the big picture that an independent school offers.
Absolutely. And you're right, you only get one shot at your child's education. And so the idea of, giving a strong foundation for a successful life is important. Now, Bobby, you have been a classroom teacher in both public and private school settings. Since you've been here for the last 13 years, I'm guessing you kind of enjoy this place and enjoy the students. Speak to me about the different experiences that you've had and what makes teaching in a private school setting rewarding, kind of to your earlier points.
Teachers in independent schools have way more freedom than in a public school. One of the things that we get to do is change the sequencing or tweak the topics that we're going to talk about, not just from year to year, but maybe from class to class, based on maybe it's just common interest the students have.
Sure.
If a student's into music, you can talk about series in terms of music, but maybe next year you don't have a musician in the class, so you can tailor that instruction to those students, and it makes it more fun as a teacher, but it definitely trickles down to the students because they get a better experience, and well, if it's interesting to them, they're more likely to soak it up and be involved instead of just sitting there and taking notes all day.
Sure.
Because if you think about just in a state where they say this is what we're going to do, every algebra student's going to do this on day 1 and day 2. There's such a wide range of learning styles that it may not fit everybody. So as a teacher, if you can fix those problems and individualize your instruction to that class, it makes it better for everybody.
Absolutely. And owing what we've said to earlier points too is the idea that I'm assuming your class sizes are obviously much smaller in comparison to what you've had, your experience within private as opposed to public. And so that certainly allows more for that individualized connection and meeting the kids where they are, finding out their interests, and then speaking to them through the curriculum and the topics.
Yeah, you really get to know them better. You can even assign different things when you have a smaller class because you're not going to spend an hour every night for each class just grading.
Sure.
You can give them more rich experience in their assignment methods.
Do you also collaborate a lot with other math teachers within the department to just kind of talk about alignment and what's best practices and stuff? I think that's a key.
That's one of the nice things about being an independent school is I can walk over to one of the other teachers and say, well, what kind of things would you like them to know, and vice versa, for the next class? What are they struggling with this year? Last year, a lot of the students missed some topics when we went out of school from the pandemic, and so just walk over there and, hey, what kind of things were you working on that I can reinforce this year?
Yeah, that's key. That is key. Now, Jackie, I know you are currently our school's college counselor, but I know you've been a guidance counselor, as you alluded to earlier, and a classroom teacher. What advice would you give families about the relationships made within a private school community?
I don't know that it would really be advice, but I do have a lot of thoughts about the relationships. Right now we're working on our Senior Memories Assembly this Friday, and we actually have 16 families from this year's graduating class that are all legacies, meaning their parents were all graduates of Stratford, and even 3 of those families are third-generation legacies. Wow. So Stratford has been a part of some of these families for 3 generations. And when I looked at the list of the students that are legacies, when I looked at the parents, I see people that I know in the community that have been friends through a lifetime, and myself as well. I did not grow up in Macon, but met a lot of Stratford people when I was in college. And so when I looked at what started as early friendships in school that then turned into business relationships, then people who raise their children together, who then send their children to school together at Stratford. And so you're really building a foundation for something that's going to last throughout an entire lifetime.
Well said, well said. That is very true. The connections made here are long-lasting. And I love, to your point too, so coming from a large city myself with, dozens and dozens and dozens of independent schools, you are constantly running with different people. You never ran into the same people in Publix, or you never ran into the same people at the park. It was just, living in a big town. But that's what I love about small town living, and then with Stratford is staying connected with those people, running into them continuously, forming strong relationships, and then turning into marriages, business partners. It really is interesting, the foundations that are laid here. Now, Sarah, you're one of the many parents who give tirelessly to our school by way of volunteerism. What has been the most rewarding part of your experience as a very active member of our parent volunteer leadership team?
Well, I would say, first of all, I'm a volunteer at heart, so it was a given once my children were enrolled here that I would get involved. And it was great to see there were many, many opportunities to do that. But the most rewarding of any of the volunteering that I've done, and it kind of piggybacks what Jackie was saying, is relationships. It's given me an opportunity to get to know families outside of just my children's class age in their class. So I think that's really important for everybody to realize. And then there's lots of opportunities, because I know some people think, oh, I don't have time to volunteer, but that's really not the case. An independent school has so many opportunities, so many different events, so many things. It can be something where you just have to commit an hour of your time, or something more long term. And I've kind of done both of those. And now I'm entering into a more lengthy time commitment.
A little more formal, yeah.
Yes, so I'm excited about that. And I
Sure.
think that'll just open the doors for me to meet even more and get to know more of the Stratford families. And I think that's just really important, because our students get a chance to spend time together, the faculty gets to, and then I think the volunteering and what SIP has to offer is opening the doors for the parents and families to really get to know one another.
Absolutely. To your point, Sarah, something I remember is when I arrived at college, the idea that we had a college admissions representative stand up in front of us and said, the best way to get involved here is to get involved here and to try everything and experience different areas of the school. And that's what we tell students at new student orientation. That's what we tell families on tours and new families when they enroll, and even current families, is the best way to get to know and experience Stratford is to get to know and experience Stratford through volunteering. And SIP is a really pivotal area within our school to get families involved. Now, our last question, and then we're almost done. Education is not a one-size-fits-all approach. And that's something that I think each one of us have hinted at. The blessing of an independent school is that we do get to tailor it. And students thrive in different environments through different teaching methodologies. For any parent making an educational decision for their family, what advice would you give them?
Well, I say they need to come to the school and see it in action.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can sit here and we can discuss it and tell everybody and inform them and give our opinions. But until you set foot on the campus, you don't really feel it and understand exactly what we're trying to describe.
Sure.
And that was what it was for me. I mean, we came, we toured, we walked around the school. We didn't just look at preschool, even though that's where we were starting, because again, we were a college prep school. We were making a long-term decision. So we spent the day and we got to see, the middle school, the upper school, all areas of campus. And I think that really made a big difference. And once we were here, and once you're on the campus of an independent school, you can see and feel the difference.
Absolutely. And obviously all of us have drank the Kool-Aid and we believe in the school. But to your point, Sarah, I know it took me, even as a potential employer or employee of coming to the school, of walking around to feel kind of the hub and see it in action and stuff like that. I think it is so important when we have when we have new families reach out, or prospective families rather, and they say, hey, we really want to come. When they reach out to our admissions director, Lori Palmer, hey, the only time we can come is Saturday. And Lori really tries to intentionally steer them away from that, because it is important to be on campus to see the students in action and to walk through the halls and to see the classrooms alive, because that really is what convinces parents. And I know something that Lori says that's so reassuring to us is that we have something like a 98% application rate once families get to campus. Once they come here and see the school alive, they say, dog, I want to come to this school. I want my children to be a part of this community. What would either one of you say as we wrap up here?
I would say the same exact thing. You were saying as an employee, when I came for my interview, the principal called and I was Stratford who? What is this place? I don't know this independent school. I was applying for public schools in the area, and I had been on interviews, and I happened to be in town when I got the call from the principal. And why not come for an interview? It doesn't cost anything. I was already here. And so came and visited, and I thought, this is a really nice place. And then I got to teach a class, so I got to actually see it in action, and I was behind the wheel for one class, and I was hooked. The environment, not the physical environment, it's nice too, but the people, I knew right away, if they were going to offer me the job, I was going to say yes, and it was a little bit of a sacrifice, but I haven't regretted it since.
Absolutely. Well, and I think something that's so important too is what sold me is that, and I have experience in other schools where this didn't happen, and I know some of us have as well, is when I came and shadowed myself as, again, a potential employee, I can remember students exiting the classrooms at the end of the lesson, and they would tell the teachers, okay, thank you, and then they'd walk out the door. Not being asked, not being forced to, but the idea that a student was thanking a teacher for a lesson. And I still distinctly remember looking around thinking, they're thanking the teachers for teaching them. I've never experienced that before. And so to your point, that idea of being behind the wheel, seeing that in the classroom in action and having that experience with the kids and seeing that thankfulness and that gratitude and how much different it is teaching a lesson in an independent school is, again, proof in the pudding there. Jackie, anything to round us out?
Well, I think that Stratford is great at helping students find their passions, and we have so many offerings here that whatever the student needs are and whatever their interests are, sometimes even more importantly, we really have a very talented faculty that'll help them really get in touch with what they love and to grow in that area. Our fine arts department is absolutely phenomenal. Our athletics department, I mean, this year our athletics have been absolutely amazing.
Stellar.
I think we had 19 seniors on the football team this year. We have our academics, bar none. I mean, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And then we have our learning center, which is phenomenal. We have incredible leadership opportunities, both in Stratford, and then because of our relationships with the community, we have great leadership opportunities within the community we live. So there really is something here for everybody, and I think our faculty is especially good at helping students tap in to what they love. Absolutely. And really getting the most out of their education here.
Absolutely. Thank you again for joining us for our second Carline Conversation over why we will always be cheerleaders for independent school education. Hopefully you found and heard some good nuggets in our conversations here today. Be on the lookout for more blogs and video series to continue to post, and we hope you have a great summer.